This is an interview with someone who was a seller and a buyer. Now, they haven't been a first-time home buyer for many, many years, so they felt like a first-time home buyer all over again. But the great thing about this interview is that Isaac, he gives us both what it felt like to be when you're a seller accepting offers from buyers, what you're looking for, what sellers really want to see when someone brings in an offer, and then he gives all the great tips on what it's like to be a buyer, including some very fascinating insights about the timing of when you need to buy your home and what you need to do to prepare so that that timing is as stress-free as possible. Really excited about this interview. Enjoy.
How to Buy a Home educates, protects, and connects first-time homebuyers to qualified vetted realtors in their area. Whether you're looking for DIY information or step-by-step guidance, How to Buy a Home is the #1 resource for first-time home buyers.
Hey, gang, welcome into another interview episode. I'm really excited today because I've got Isaac here, and his story is a little bit different. Isaac reached out to me in 2024 with some home buying questions. So, Isaac, why don't we start with what was different for you? You weren't coming in as a first-time home buyer, were you?
No, we already had a house. We had our first home, and this is us looking for our second one. Our first home buying experience was not a very enjoyable one. We went through a new builder and used their agent and learned absolutely nothing in the process. And, the only benefit we had was how early we got in to do it. And that was a good time for interest rates and all that. But all of the other things that you talk about, we didn't know any of that. We made all the mistakes we could have made. So, but we were happy with the house for a long time. And it was time for us to move on to the next thing. And so that's when I started doing the research and found your podcast. And it was such a help to have all the knowledgeable professionals to guide us along the way, especially our unicorn, Kate, did everything to help us. It was amazing.
Yeah, you reached out in 2024, and we've been in touch a lot since.
Yeah.
There were a lot of moving pieces.
Yes. There were so many ups and downs along the way. In particular, we ended up listing. We did a lot of work to get the house listing ready, and then we put it on the market right when some major financial stuff changed on the global market, and that really hit our ability to move fast. But at that point, it was the waiting game, and it took about 8 months in the summer of 2025 to get it to sell. We didn't sell until February, and then but then once we did, everything kicked back into motion again, and we were back into the buying process, which now we could use everything we learned from you. And it took less than 2 months to find this new place, which was such a shock. That it was about 7 weeks from closing on the old house to closing on the new one.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay. So for the listeners, eventually you're going to go into this, buying a home on your own. I always talk about timing, make sure that you've got room to, go month to month on your lease, or you got someplace to stay. Well, imagine packing up an entire house. You've got so many different things going. You've got a buyer that took 8 months to get, that could pull out of the deal. So you really can't get ready to pull the trigger on the other side. So coming into this as a second-time buyer, but really a first-time buyer, as far as doing it the right way, what was your biggest takeaway, your biggest tip to give the people out there who are trying to figure out how to do this?
I think my biggest tip is trust the professionals that are there to do the job and have done this before. Our unicorn and her entire network of everyone else, Guild Mortgage, the title company, all of the inspection, the home inspectors and the electricians and the plumbers and the handymen and painters, they all came from our unicorn's recommendations, and they all did top-notch work. And we were there to help say this is what we want. But once they provided their professional guidance, we said, do it. We weren't going to question what the right thing to do was. Their they're the ones who know it. They've done this before so many times. And that showed up again too when we were preparing our new house to move in. We went through all the same people to be like, okay, well, we want to repaint some walls and we want to fix up this or that showed up in the inspection. And so we called all the same people back and we got them in here, and every single one of them was like, this is a nice house.
Oh.
and that was really impressive to me to know that these people have been in so many people's houses all over the Pacific Northwest, and they were complimenting this one that I have now. That was really cool.
It's one thing to like come on the podcast and tell people, look, I guarantee you it's going to be a different situation when you use a unicorn. It's another thing when I get you guys to tell your story and then you're like, oh my gosh, all these pros said that my home is awesome. That's so great.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, you mentioned the thing I didn't get into that detail in part of my story, but part of our plan for moving the house was we didn't want to have to deal with contingency offers or any of those kind of things and be living in the house while it was listed. So we moved into an apartment with the plan for it only being 1 year. And the apartment was much smaller. So I also got a storage unit, packed up 80% of our possessions in a storage unit, moved into a 2-bedroom apartment for a 1-year lease, and then just had to wait out the market. My original optimistic plan was that we may even need to break our lease or figure out, or have more apartment than we needed at the time. But it worked out almost perfectly. We ended up rolling the apartment into month to month for a single month, and then we just moved in last Friday.
I know that most people reach out to a realtor and a lender about a month before. That like, oh, our lease is coming up. Maybe we should look into this, because they think they're going to go out and get a door opener and, an order taker. While you were selling the house, I know that you were doing lots of preparation for the purchase. What were the fears and the misconceptions that you had going into that? And then the things that were answered while you were preparing to buy a home as you were selling a home?
Yeah. Well, there was so many balls at the air, and our unicorn helped us keep everything organized, which was great. We had very specific requirements for what kind of house we wanted to move into. And so our whole plan was about reducing the stress and time pressure on ourselves so that we didn't feel like we were forced to settle for something that was less than what we were doing this whole thing to get in the first place. And so that's why, renting the apartment, paying rent and a mortgage for several months, sounds like not necessarily an optimal plan. But for us, it was, because it allowed us the freedom to take care of everything we needed on our own schedule. As far as, fears and misconceptions, my biggest fear was that it would take it would take too long to sell the house, and then that this whole plan would eat into our savings. We would have to renew a lease, and because it felt like a big risk. We were effectively giving up a home that we had to go back. It felt like going backwards for a half a step, to be in an apartment for a whole year and have a period of time where we didn't own a house. And, but that was a necessary step to take in this process. And I just had to trust the process. Also how the title company and the lending agent and the realtor all work together as a team is something I never really thought about. How they all have their own specific roles and responsibilities, but they all know each other and they communicate very effectively with each other. They keep us in the loop. They educate us along the way. So I learned a lot in the process that, hopefully I'll never need to use any of that knowledge again. But that's what this is about, sharing all that with everyone else, right?
I think when you're buying your forever home, which you're obviously in now, that sort of plan, that playbook that you created, it speaks to people who are selling home. Honestly, you could save all the headache in real estate if everyone would just listen to this podcast, because you just listen to Kate. Understand, if it's your forever home, there are some things you can't put a price tag on, but everyone tries to put it down to price. I want to sell my house, have the person get the keys, and then I want to move into my perfect house on that same day. That's 4 different entities or 3 different entities that you're dealing with. And then you're dealing with different lenders, title, insurance, escrow, if you're in an escrow state. It's So the way that you did it, understanding, putting the price tag on peace of mind. You know what? If you're really ready to do this, if you've sat down with your team, move out of that $3,000 a month apartment. Go get a studio. Go live in your mom's basement. You'll be able to save up a bunch of money during the next 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
And you never have to be like, how do I time this with my lease? But,
this same plan would totally work for that situation. That's totally true.
Okay, I have to ask, because you mentioned it. How did you do it in 7 weeks? I gotta know.
Yeah, I mean, it was the team. They had us ready. We did everything. All the preparation was done. We had a whole year to prepare. The only thing we didn't know was which house we were going to buy, and so everything except for that last variable was already in place, and we just pushed the ball down the hill. So that's really what it felt like. We were on there for a ride. It was definitely a busy 7 weeks. I was out viewing properties every weekend. Once we were under contract on the previous sale, we started shopping immediately. My wife does the online research. I do the physical, the in-person reconnaissance, and we broke up the responsibilities like that. And she was keeping an eye on the market, looking at listings and stuff, but we weren't really shopping until we were under contract, because I really didn't want to find something that we wanted and we didn't have an ability to make an offer on it or anything. So we needed to wait for the right time to shop also. But then once we put that in motion, there was one weekend I viewed. Kate and I drove all over the east side. The Seattle area, east side is a big place. I don't have the mileage on the top of my mind, but basically from pretty far south to pretty far north, we viewed 5 properties on one Saturday. And there was, and the next weekend we found this house. We only viewed one, and it was this one. So it was just, you just got to see a bunch of them to recognize the gem when you'd see it.
Yeah, getting that sort of that template, the idea, and you talked about breaking it up, and we've had a lot of single people buy homes here. A lot of people buy solo. Those are the ones I'm like, hey, get ready. This is going to be a part-time job. So get your PTO days ready. Don't take a lot of overtime. And for you guys being, and when you're with a partner, I love that idea of splitting up the responsibility like that. Was finding the right neighborhood something you did within that year? Because obviously you toured all the way up and down the east side.
Yeah, no, we were keeping all of our options open, because we knew we had in our mind that there was always the possibility there was going to be some compromise we had to settle for, and location was one of those. Our primary requirements for the house were floor plan related, and so if that trumped any other neighborhood, HOA, distance from my office, all of those things, they were great. They were on the list of things we wanted, but the floor plan was the most important. And so that's why we kept all that open. We were looking everywhere for that specific floor plan.
Did that floor plan include a minimum number of bedrooms, or was it more about kitchen layout and family room layout?
It was about kitchen, family room layout, and a single floor situation. We wanted to make sure we wanted a master bedroom on the main floor, so that there were no stairs dividing the house, and that was really important for us to have this as a place that I can keep living in past retirement.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm those of you listening can't see this, but I've got to ask you, Isaac, are you at your house right now?
I am. These trees behind me are in my backyard.
Is that your freaking backyard? Yes. There's like a redwood behind him.
It's a cedar, but yeah.
Okay. I'm in Southern California, not Northern California, man.
Yeah, this is what the Pacific Northwest wilderness looks like, and it's just literally my backyard. What? It's pretty amazing. It feels like when you go hiking in the woods. I mean, obviously, I can see all my neighbors from where I am, but you can't. I positioned it so it just looks like I'm in the woods.
Yes. Did your wife use the like satellite view in the Google Maps when she was looking at stuff Was that something that you did in your process?
Yeah, we did all of those things. So there was one of the, so it was funny. There was one property we went to go see. Everything looked really nice. It met like most of our requirements, but we knew from previous viewings, you have to see it in person. There's always something that they don't show in the photos. You never know what there's going to be. And so I went to go meet it with our realtor. And I got there first. And as soon as I got out of the car, I heard this buzzing sound. And I turned around and there are those big, those giant transmission lines for those electrical transmission lines literally across the street from this house. And it was a big green belt under the lines, which is maintained really well. And then, but you could hear the electricity when you're sitting on your front porch. And I'm like, you can't even open a window in the summer without hearing that. That's a no-go. And there was no way to tell unless you looked at like satellites or something. So that was where we learned. It's like, okay, every listing after that, we check the satellite view, what's nearby, what's here.
That's a really excellent point, because if you're not on the satellite view, this is a really nerdy insider tip. 20 years of real estate that I know very well. If you're just looking at the regular map, the colored map, you're going to see a big green spot. But it's not until you go satellite view, and sometimes even then it's hard to see, where you're going to get those overhead power wires. And underneath it, always a beautiful green belt. Or in Southern California, it seems to be the place that every nursery, people selling trees and stuff, they sell the trees right underneath that. But because it's a space that can't really be used.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And even this one, that was a potential red flag for this one too, because from the satellite view, it did look like there were power lines here, because there's a green belt right up to our backyard, and there's power lines running through them, but they're just city power lines. They're not the noisy ones, and everything is fine, And so, but we did look for them, and we did see them on the satellite. And that was that was on the top of the checklist when we went to go view it in person: is check out if those power lines are a problem.
People will tell me all the time, like, look, I'm just not ready to talk to someone. I'm like, okay, if you talk to someone, you're going to learn all these tricks over 6 months. And then when you shop, it's just boom, boom, boom. I love it when my buyers, when we're like, we don't really know. We've done all our research, but then we go to check it out and they'll go in the front door and they'll be like, nope. And I'm like, sweet, let's go. And, some people are like, well, no, don't you know, like you worked so hard to find a house. No, I didn't. We worked together.
Yeah, there was a lot of that too. It was like, as soon as you know that it's not for you, then why waste your time looking at the rest of the house? Like, just let's move on to the next one. There's certain things that were definitely deal breakers, and as soon as we saw that thing, we're like, okay, we're out. Let's just go to the next one. So
you brought up something that I would love to hear, like a real buyer's perspective, because I've got mine. Layout. One of the toughest things to figure out through just the still photos. What things did you learn about the photos, and possibly maybe they had virtual tours, that made you understand, okay, this is how you determine what kind of layout before you get to the home?
It's a puzzle. There are so many of the photos in the listings are sometimes intentionally deceptive, and you have to figure out, like, oh, that piece of wood you see in the corner of this one is actually the panel of the kitchen cabinet that's in this one. So then you start to put together the layout, of like how it fits together, and maybe 10% of the listings had floor plans in them, some of them at varying quality of resolution, or whether or not they had measurements. Either is measurements are extremely rare.
Yeah.
But this one, the one we ended up getting, did have a floor plan in the listing, which was really helpful. And then a lot of the listings also have a new thing where they have sort of a diagram of the floor plan and then the dots from where the photos were taken, so you can jump around by clicking on the dots and see the photo, and it tells you the angle of the photo in the room. That really helps with the sense of space as well. But even with all of that, I never got really good about intuiting a floor plan from just looking at the listing photos. My wife did, because she never visited a place in person. She didn't see this place until the day we moved in, right?
Wow.
She said, I felt like I saw it enough online. She was confident in me and Kate that we made all the right decisions. She didn't need to come see it herself. So, we also used a a video conference app that our unicorn recommended for us to do real-time video tours with. So when I was touring the house, I had the app open and my wife was there with me walking around and talking to us, even if she wasn't there in person. And so that helped a lot too. Kate told us that that she uses that when she's representing clients from out of state.
Yes.
So that's how she shops for them. So it worked for us really, it was really convenient.
All the years I've been doing it, I've never had someone on an interview say that, but I've done that. People think that's just an out-of-state thing, but sometimes, you know what? One of the partners is at home, and that's really cool. What were the boxes that were checked and on this home, and the things that you said you had maybe had to compromise or were flexible about?
If there's any compromises, I guess the biggest one is the age of the house. The house was built in 78. So it feels pretty old, but it's only a year older than me. So that's not that much. We definitely viewed a lot of other ones. I grew up in a house that was built in 1906. So there's a lot of old houses around in the area. And so because of its age and the amount of renovations it's gone through over the years, there was a lot that came up on the home inspection as far as things to fix or maintain or keep an eye on. But none of those were deal breakers. They were all just sort of, now I just have a big to-do list that I need to work on for the next 4 years,
Sounds like you listen to my home inspection podcast.
Yeah. And we got a lot of them taken care of before we even moved in,
right.
because our closing was so fast and we had an extra 4 weeks at the apartment before our move out date. We got a lot done before we were even there, which helps with, painting, asbestos mitigation. One of the rooms had a popcorn ceiling we needed to have removed. Technically, we could have left it there if we left it undisturbed, it wasn't officially a problem,
right.
But we didn't like the idea. It's like, if we're going to deal with it, let's deal with it now. So we got that all done. And it's all an investment in our future. Now I have to start building my savings back up again. But this is what it was all for. So
there's so many things where I'll ask people, like, what obstacles did you overcome? I have heard you overcome about 10 of the biggest red flags. And it was because you pre-planned. It was because you set up the timing. I tell people all the time that crossover time, I know no one wants to pay an extra month rent while they're buying a home. You were in a different situation because you guys were selling. But that extra month, you get everything done. Once the furniture's in, every job is a pain. Painting, popcorn ceilings, forget about it.
Yeah. They'll charge more to protect your furniture too. So I got estimates for, when we were redoing the old house before we moved out, I got an estimate for installing all new flooring. And then after we moved out, I got an estimate again. It was $800 less because I didn't have to deal with any furniture that was there. So it's just from the same vendor and everything. If you move out and then do flooring, then they will charge you less.
So for the first time home buyer, if you're like, I don't want to continue my rent because I want to move on that day and not pay rent anymore. Okay, well now you moved in, you saved $2,000 in rent, but it's going to cost $800 to redo the floor. So now we're down to $1,200. And like I said, that $1,200 for the peace of mind. What were the big things that you felt like you could overcome or did overcome once you got connected with your unicorn?
A lot of it was just the confidence we had that we had people there to take care of us. One of the things I wrote in my notes here was, she was so responsive and had an answer. I could text her or call her anytime. And, she didn't always pick up the phone when I called, but she would always text me, I'll call you right back, or tell me when she was available. It felt like we were her only client. Like, I know she had other clients, obviously, but like, I never felt like there was we were her number one priority, and that was a good feeling to have, and same with all the other people we were working with, Guild Mortgage and the title company and all of the other, the vendors that we were using. Everybody, they were priority customer service. It was amazing.
That's incredible.
I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. Yeah, because obviously my unicorns are people that I've vetted over the years, and Kate is one of the most unusual people I've ever met, because you never find someone that nice who is a just tremendous business person as well. They always say people who do well in business always step over a few people, and that is absolutely not Kate.
Yeah. Oh, she sent us holiday cards. She sent us little gifts along the way of just like, keep it up, you can do it. It was just a constant communication. Even times when it was like I was talking to her every day when we were doing home viewings and stuff, and then we still got a happy Easter card. Like she was doing that at the same time, even though like we're seeing you every day. Yeah. Like, but it's still she's still sending cards and little gifts and stuff to just keep us motivated.
Yeah, it was funny because I was checking in with you guys like once a month during the sale process. And it was always just like the most upbeat. And because I know I'm in the market, I'm researching this market 24/7.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing people don't understand is one side is going to struggle and the other side is going to be easier.
My coworkers were always very interested in my process as well, and they would always ask me, "What is how's it going? Are you finding a place yet? What are you doing?" And especially in that long wait to sell was the hardest part to get through, because there wasn't much for us to do, and we were just sitting there waiting for it to sell. We had already done all the fix up and the listing and everything. And then when it was time, Kate would recommend that we lower the price, and that hurts every time you have to do that. But, we had to trust her that she knows the market. She knows what is necessary. And we did the right thing at the right time. We ended up lowering the price a couple times, but the last time we lowered the price, it was the perfect amount at the exact right time that the day after we lowered the price, we got 3 offers that ended up being a bidding war, and the price we sold at was higher than it was before we lowered it that last time. And that is 100% Kate's expertise that got us there. So,
all right, Isaac, tell me the truth, dude, because I have to recount this story to sellers. I've been doing it since 2014 when we started getting into bidding wars. Did you believe it was going to go higher than your reduction?
I mean, I didn't really know I wasn't even expecting a bidding war. It all happened so fast. Once we got the offers, getting multiple offers in one day, we were up until midnight responding to those contracts.
Yep.
And just going back and forth and picking the right one and keeping track of them all. And we were just, sending texts back and forth. We were like, offer 1, offer 3, offer 2,
I have so many pictures of myself during multiple different times, 2014, 2016, 2022, or 2022, where I have my desk on a Sunday night and the picture's taken at 11:30 and there are just a spread of offers. And eventually it just becomes, like you'll find something funny in their name. Hey, this is from the fruit one. And they're like, what? Oh yeah, the last name's Apple or whatever. And
we were doing that too. And, and Kate was just she was supporting us that whole time of just like, this is how it goes. This is what you do. This is what this means in the contract. They didn't check this box. That's a problem. We need to redo the contract. And, we need you to sign, and then we send it back to them, and then they need to sign it, and then you need to acknowledge it. And so it added so many extra layers when somebody made a paperwork mistake that Kate was catching. And so those were all things that we remembered, every single one of those. When we needed to make our offer, we said, all right, we're not going to do any of this. We're going to make sure we're the one that doesn't have any of those mischecked boxes or missing forms or wrong data in the wrong field. And if we have the one that is acceptable the first time, then that saves them 3 rounds of signing things, and that's a compelling offer. I know that, and that's what we're here to do.
It's a huge lesson because I tell people all the time. I've had so many times where the best price didn't win, but our buyers won because we presented the best price and the best terms, which is the easiest sale. It's not just easy at the beginning. The listing agent and the seller both go, well, who's going to cause me the most problems? Because it's not done till it's done. And there's an inspection, there's an appraisal. So when you see someone present a great offer, I mean, that's such a, and you know, listening to you from the seller side is such an important lesson for everybody. Right now, there are places in the country where things are really frozen. If you're a buyer and you see a price reduction, one, you just told them all, get ready, y'all, because there were 3 offers in like a matter of hours. And then number 2, if you then call up a Zillow agent who you've never talked to before and say, oh, this house finally reduced to where I want it, that offer is going to stink. So prepping early, that's such a huge part.
Yeah.
I know it's different when you're doing a loan, when you're selling a house and when you're buying a house. Did you do anything creative, or did you have a nice chunk of cash and could just kind of do a standard loan?
We definitely were going to use some of the equity from our sale to use for the down payment on this one, but it's also an upgrade. So we did need to make sure we were getting a bigger loan to pay to finance the rest of the house.
Yeah,
and also we did a lot of planning to figure out how much to hold back and hold on to for renovations or replenishing our savings or whatever we feel like we needed to, because it was really important for us. You talk a lot about how for first-time buyers, especially if they're young professionals, to push their budget a little bit.
Yes.
And push it a little farther than you think, because you're at the beginning of your career and there's a lot going forward. And I'm at a point in my career where I don't know how many more promotions I have between me and now and retirement now. So I need to be a little more conservative on that part. And so when I'm figuring out what is the budget for what can we afford in a mortgage, it really needs to be in the middle of my comfortable range. We didn't want this place to feel like a sacrifice. The sacrifice was living in an apartment for a year, and that's over now.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of back and forth with our rep from Guild Mortgage. They were so accommodating with every question I had for like, oh, can you redo this with $250 down payment or $275 down payment, or and one of the big things I never even thought about that I probably would never consider, and that's why Guild does what they do, is the cost to close, all the extra cost to close stuff, right? In my mind, it was just down payment and loan. But then there's all this other closing costs that you need to account for, and they weren't the same when you change the calculations. If you paid a different amount of down payment, or the price of the house was a little bit different, or whatever, the closing costs jumped around all over the place too. And so it was really hard to predict what it was. And then also, he was doing all like theoretical things because we didn't have a property to attach them to until we did. And then he could do a lot more accurate ones by using the actual tax information for the property we were trying to get. And then you also had the sale price for it and everything too, which that playing out all those scenarios really helped when we were bidding on this one, because it was also a bidding war.
Yeah.
My wife found the listing for this house, and she always tells me when there's a new one, she said, "Oh, Isaac, I think I found the perfect house," is what she said. And my first question is always, how long has it been on the market? Because, you don't see everything right when it comes up, but we were keeping an eye on a lot of things. We had alerts on our accounts to make sure we saw some of the newest stuff, but we didn't see everything all the time. So sometimes we'll find things that have been on the market for several weeks or months. And so I said, how long has it been on the market? And she said 35 minutes.
Wow.
So we looked at it together, and I called Kate immediately and said, we need to see this house and that was on a Wednesday. So we went down to view it on Friday, and that was Good Friday for Easter weekend.
Oh, wow.
So we viewed it on Friday, and walking through the house, we looked at everything. And after we went through everything, we were outstanding in the yard, and Kate said, "I think this place is perfect for you," which was a huge statement coming from her, because every other place, there were at least 2 other properties that we were excited enough about to tell her and say, let's make an offer on this place. And she would come back with, well, make sure you think about this and this and this and these other things that you might not like 2 years from now. And she was right. Like, we don't want to settle. And she made sure we didn't jump the gun and offer on something that we weren't really gonna love. But then here, we saw this one. She said, "This is perfect for you guys." And I said, "Okay, we need to make an offer tonight," because they have an open house on Saturday, which was the next day. And then it was Easter weekend. And so we did that. That we were up until midnight doing that contract, because we sent it in by around 8:00 or something. But then almost immediately, Kate called us back and said, their agent told her that they already had another offer that was above asking price. And so we had to rewrite our contract with an escalation clause, and we had to make a quick decision for where we were willing to escalate to, and put all that together, and it came out perfectly. So perfectly that when the assessment came in, it was only like $5,000 higher than we ended up paying for the house.
Wow. So you guys hit the value right on the number.
Almost exactly. Yeah.
And those escalation clauses are great. If you don't know what those are, it's in some of the bidding war offer episodes, or just go to howtobuyahome.com and ask me about it, because you and your realtor should definitely be using them. You know what's crazy to me? My realtor mind, I read through the lines of everything you're saying. First of all, I'm like, what the heck is wrong with that listing agent putting a home up on Good Friday morning? Like, wait a weekend, dude. You would have made so much more money. But hey, whatever. I'm glad it worked out for you. But even
it worked out perfectly for us.
Yeah. And you're talking about those automatic alerts. When you put your home for sale, when you got that final price reduction, which you ended up getting more than because of the bidding war, those people's alerts were set for a certain price point. I bet a lot of those people didn't see your home until Kate advised, let's drop down here, we'll get more eyeballs, and then boom. So as a buyer out there, for all the listeners, when you see something, you gave such great advice, days on the market, first thing you check. If you see something that suddenly drops into your automatic search you've never seen before, means it was a price reduction, and then you could see how long it's been on the market. Just keep in mind, you're not the only person that just saw that for the very first time today. So get your team ready to move fast. This is so exciting for you. Did I miss anything? Was there anything else about the whole process that you wanted to share with all the How to Buy a Homies out there?
That's a big question.
Yeah, I know.
One of the things that I was joking about with my wife when we were writing up the notes preparing for this was the tiny staging furniture was a funny thing to see. When you look at the photos of a room and it looks like a really big room with a couch and a master bed or whatever, and it's like a nice huge room, and then you go view it and it's like dollhouse furniture in the room. I have a picture of Kate standing next to what looks like a 3-seat sofa, but it's as tall as her knee. Like, it's just in a tiny room. And the photos, they're very deceptive in the photos, but it's just. And then they leave it there for you to see when you go there in person. You're like, well, that's not the right size for the room. So.
I've never seen a king size bed in a staged home. I've never seen a king size bed. I've never seen a real dining table. It's always some kind of breakfast nook thing, teeny little cute thing with a flower on it. It looks like a French bistro because it makes the room look giant. Their technology they're trying to catch up with. They're trying to enact all these laws right now that you can't use AI to enhance your photos. So now all the people who stage homes, they have to go back to old Hollywood. Like, get a set designer who knows how to make something, make the dinosaur look big, but you have to use a practical effect.
Yeah, like the Hobbits and the Lord of the Rings.
Yes, yes. Where they built trenches so that they could do the scene.
Yeah. In this house, well, we were looking for one that had all one floor. It does have a room on a lower level because the house is on a hill. And so then that's going to be my office and man cave space, and I get to set that up however I want. The previous owner, I was told, had a ping pong table down there, and there's enough room to have a full size ping pong table or pool table or something.
Wow.
So I have a lot of space to work with. That's more than we were looking for. It's great to just have extra space and a place to put all of our things. As we were living in the other place for almost 20 years, and we had accumulated a lot of life accumulates, and I was storing stuff in the garage. Like I have a big collection of board games, and they were just all in boxes in the garage. I would go in and get them when I wanted one, but it's hard to look at your collection when it's in a storage unit,
Yeah.
And now I have a way to put it out in the room I'm going to use it in. One of the other podcasters I listen to says that the difference between a collector and a hoarder is a display case. So that's
I like that a lot. Yeah. And then, I know there are a bunch of people out there that are like, I am a collector. I just can't afford a room with a display case. And, this is what you guys figured out, and you're there in the woods. I'm so thrilled for you. So this is it, right? You're done. This is going to be the forever place.
Oh yeah, we're having AC installed today, and that's the last big modification we're doing, and then it's just unpacking for a while. I got a lot of stuff in my garage that was in a storage unit for a year that I don't even remember what's in those boxes. So we'll find out. It'll be a new experience.
Well, you get your beautiful home in the woods, and it's Christmas every day. You get to open it up and find new things.
Yeah. And our plan is to make sure we're very intentionally unpacking and get rid of the stuff. Obviously, if we haven't used it for a year, we don't need it. But there's some, nostalgia stuff. We have a lot of artwork we want to put up on the walls and that kind of thing. So that's all coming back out. But as we find it, we'll put it where it belongs. And if we don't need it anymore, we'll get rid of it. We got rid of a lot of stuff when we were packing up too. There was so many dump runs and stuff of just get rid of the trash, get rid of the old yard furniture and all that stuff. And, so we got to do that again on the unpacking side too.
Yep. I tell people, when you're doing the move, one of the things that, people are going through their checklist of everything. And I'm like, hang on. Have you guys talked about this? Because one of you sounds like a minimalist and the other one sounds like a hoarder. So you want 4 bedrooms and a bonus room, and you're good with 2 bedrooms and an extra little side cave. Understanding that part of the process. That's why I tell people, do it as early as you can. Obviously it wasn't fun that your sale took longer than you anticipated. The average sale usually takes about 6 months. It just hasn't. Nothing's been average in real estate for 12, 15 years. And then, but all that time meant that you bought in 7 weeks, and now you're sitting in the forest talking to me. I really appreciate it. Isaac, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I appreciate you bringing all your wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you for your podcast, and all of your wisdom has helped us so much more than anybody could know. I mean, yeah, we really appreciate you and all the unicorns, Kate in particular. We couldn't have done this without you guys.
Thanks a lot. That's great to hear, and it makes me happy, and I'm jealous of you and your forest.
Thank you.
That was really fascinating. I am so thankful to Isaac for bringing us the perspective from both sides so that you as a buyer not only know what to do on your side to prepare, but know what they're looking for when you're finally ready to make an offer on a home. And if you enjoyed that interview, we were doing this a long time, and we asked people who went through the process themselves if they want to come on and tell their story. So we've got over 120 interviews. Check the episode guide in the show notes. You can find all the interviews, and you can listen to real people telling their real story of how they managed to do this, even in the most unaffordable housing markets that we've seen in decades. There are options, and you can get this done. If you've got your own personal question, go to howtobuyahome.com, hit the Ask David button. I personally answer that myself. This is not anyone from my team. It's not an AI, and it's not a robot. And if you think you're ready to talk to someone, if you want to discover the unicorn difference, remember, they're ready to talk to you not 6 weeks, but 6 months or a year before you're ready to buy a home, because that's the unicorn difference. These are the people that set you up so that you end up with an experience just like Isaac had. Go to howtobuyahome.com. There's a button in there. Find a local realtor. You can just have a conversation. You don't have to commit to anything. There's no obligation. We just want to make sure that everybody understands, hey, you don't have to do this on your own, and you have an opportunity to set yourself up so you get results like Isaac did. And of course, if you just still want to sit back and learn everything there is to know about the first-time home buying market, cool. It's all here and it's all free. Check the episode guide. Listen to any topic that you're curious about. Trust me, it's been done. Thanks for listening today. And don't forget, you can do this.
Looking for more DIY education or your own personal step-by-step guidance through the home buying journey? Since 2019, How to Buy a Home has been the #1 resource for first-time home buyers. So visit howtobuyahome.com to get started.